everybody, to Blerdlines. This is your man Cam. With me, as always, is
the other Cam, the last actually Negro, the Woko Kaji, the most respected hater on the planet Earth and the galaxy.
as well as.
Hey, yo, this is Josh, a.k.a. the Dark Lord of the Caribbean Sith, known as Dark Coconut.
And always trying to keep us a little bit more villainy. Who else is left?
This is Lord Professor D of the House Morgoth, second of my name, speaker of the nerds, scourge of imbeciles, and breaker of pop culture and mediocre chain.
And we're back talking about what we're watching, reading, and playing. And yeah, man, this is a lot of stuff that's been going on in terms of like some of the stuff we've been watching, some of the stuff we've been reading. I've been catching up on my comics and my anime. Other folks have been watching some movies I haven't watched and vice versa. So we were all thinking, today, let's just kind of dive in and kind of just like go around the horn about what everyone's watching and reading right now. D, what are you watching right
now? I just went through Return to FX's The Strain. Because I like horror and I like genre shows and I like Guillermo del Toro. So years ago when that show came out, I think it came out in 2015 or something like that, 2016.
That sounds about right.
It was the first season. I watched and did not like it. And I was just like, forget that. That's one thing I don't need in my life. I considered reading the books, but was, again, just kind of dismissed it. So since it had its run and it ended, I think about 2 years ago, maybe. And so it's only 4 seasons. The first 2 seasons, I think, are 13 episodes, and the last 2 are 10 episodes. So they get in, get out. I don't know. I haven't read those books, so I don't know how much of the adaptation was finished versus if they had to rush a lot through. But it was okay. I think it's just one of those things. I didn't feel that much different watching it the second time around, but because I didn't have to wait for the next episode, I could just kind of power through it. It was okay, just okay. A decent take on vampire. It's like Vampires meets Walking Dead type of thing, where the one thing I'll give it credit for is the stakes felt genuinely real throughout each season. They were elevated each season until to the very end. So I appreciated that.
It was what, 4 seasons?
4 seasons.
Yeah, I remember
total episodes.
Because it came from a book, right? Like I think
Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan wrote the trilogy, a trilogy of novels. And I think collectively it's called The Strain, but of course each book has its own separate title.
Yeah. I think I remember he said he wrote it because he watched Twilight and he was like, I want my vampires to be bloody.
Yeah, and you can see that like it was a total rage against like the modern vampire, where these vampires are like very much creepy. The way in which they infect you is like horrendous, phantasmagoric, like a transformation that I think vampirism of the last 20, 30 years made the interaction between the monster, the vampire, and the victim more erotic and intimate. Whereas this is like,
chomp, chomp, your food.
Yeah, like it's like he the vampires he designed for Blade 2.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Kind of like his escalation of that, where now they're like that tongue thing stretches like almost like an extended arm, and it grips you back and like things.
Yeah,
and I would say like worms that penetrate the skin, and if the worms get inside you, they quickly multiply. So they apply a scientific element as well as a kind of plays with the preternaturals, but kind of parallels it. So the main character is the CDC director of the CDC. So, the whole time is this parallel juxtapositioning of the vampire, of the strain with a disease, but at the same time hinting at something more ancient and supernatural.
So what I hear you saying is you don't like your vampires sparkly or pretty.
Well, I prefer them to be a little bit more disgusting.
Okay, that's fair.
I relate the romanticizing of being turfed is a 180 in the strain, and it's more parallel to what we noticed in The Last of Us and how it affected.
Yes,
really gross.
Very much. Like you don't. It's very gross. It's when I was in grad school, there was this term that was used that I studied up on it's called dread horror, where it's like the characters don't, through you're watching the characters, you don't want to, it makes you feel uncomfortable physically when you see like, again, these vampires, and that's a good comparison to The Last of Us. It's like a very, very poor iteration of The Last of Us. But but genre fans, it's a decent watch. It's something you can throw on the background and not miss the main narrative beats. It's not shooting for anything other than what it was, and so I think that's what made me not regret going back to it, and this time actually finishing it. And it has this sort of classic Dracula setup where the master vampire is shipped over to the new world via this time a plane, and he's got a Van Helsing like old man chasing him, and a Renfield type servant who's constantly thwarting the hero's plan. So it's a very straightforward genre show. Did you see the Cam? Is that compared to Last of Us? Did you watch?
I watched. For me, I only watched like the first, a couple episodes.
I watched the first season and a half, and for some reason, it just rubbed me the wrong way. And maybe
same here.
Maybe it was me. So I have to revisit it because I like the premise of it.
Same here. Rubbed me the wrong way. First episode though, I watched one episode and I was like,
Yeah, I didn't think, Josh, you would stick with it. I mean, it would have to be kind of on the Last of Us level for Josh and Cam to stick with it.
No. It's one of those things that like I actually wanted to come back to it. It's just other stuff got into my viewing.
Yeah, and I'm not, and then me, I'm not a horror person, so like that first 2 episodes, I was like, it didn't grab me.
I like vampire stuff, so I like me. Like one of the best vampire movies, Let the Right One In or Let Me In.
Oh, the little girl.
Yeah. I never saw Let Me In, but Let the Right One In.
You watched the Swedish version or the American version?
Both versions are actually really good.
Swedish version.
Yeah, Swedish version is very creepy.
Creepy. Like just.
But that's another example of some of the more subversive vampire stories of recent. And I think we all had the same experience with The Strain the first time around. The same thing you guys said, I felt by the end of the first episode.
Yeah.
So I was already, and I watched more episodes, but I noticed that the characters were poorly written. They were numbnuts walking around waiting to get killed. It was almost worse than at some points it was worse than The Walking Dead.
I got the same vibe when I watched the one episode. I was like, not for me.
But again, I give them credit for getting in and getting out. Can't do wrong with 43 episodes and 4 seasons of what it is,
Yeah, that's
that's
what
it was,
So I watched Silo, so you guys, and Silo is on Apple TV, and it's kind of continuing Apple TV's kind of high sci-fi concept that they've been kind of rocking with. They did Foundation. They did another one with I think it was something like Race to Mars.
Did you watch Foundation?
I have not watched Foundation.
Okay.
That's my next. That's on the next. I'm trying to watch that this week.
Same here.
Has anyone read Asimov's Foundation for
I have, but like when I was like 16, maybe.
Fair enough.
Yeah, like I know I haven't not. Yeah, in my teen, when I was on my Asimov tip, like my dad got me into it.
Same.
I think
I was in my like early 20s when I read it.
Yeah,
I've heard good things about the show, debating on whether I want to read the books and then watch or do a little of both.
Yeah.
But Silo, same thing. It's based off a trilogy of books.
You know,
I do not. I can look it up. But they, but yeah, man, it was interesting cast. Rebecca Ferguson, she's from Mission Impossible. Our girl Rashida Jones is in it. David Oyelowo.
Wow.
And Rebecca Ferguson is also, she's Lady Jessica in Dune.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
So,
which we just found out is going to be a trilogy, baby.
I know, that should be crazy. Yeah.
So they greenlit Dune. They letting him do Dune Messiah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, they're gonna. Yes, they are letting him do Dune Messiah. Yes.
Oh, okay. Because that's going to be interesting. Because I would think Dune Messiah has to be broken up into
two movies,
maybe 3 movies. Because that was a thicker novel than the first one.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
They give them legs to do something.
I'll be 50 when this is built.
A lot of material, brother.
Yo,
but go ahead, Cam. Sorry.
But yeah. So Silo is 3 books. They put into a movie is the first 8 episodes, I want to say. But they do a little bit of a switcheroo, but it's in a good way in the first 2 episodes. So you can kind of see whose story is this. And I thought that was kind of interesting the way they kind of like brought that out. But yeah, and as I was telling everyone earlier, it does something that I thought was quite impossible. Make Common the rapper a halfway decent actor.
Hang on.
I just said, I said halfway decent. I didn't say good. I said he doesn't take away from it.
Even with the qualifier, Cam does not believe
he doesn't take away from it. He doesn't necessarily add to it. He's just decent.
Before we go in, I will say this. I've heard multiple people big up this show, and none of them mention Common. So
that's a good thing.
Wait, let me ask you this, Josh.
Have
you ever seen Common act anything before this?
Say it.
Have they ever seen Common act in anything before this?
Everybody's seen most of what Common has been. Yes.
Man.
Okay.
So before we go in on Common, I just want to note that that Silo has 9 books in its series.
Wow.
Almost the first being published in 2011. But actually he published 9 books in 3 years because
full novels or novellas?
It says works, so I don't know if all of these are novels, but it differentiates these. Yeah, no, it says number of books 9 and 3 short stories, a short story trilogy. And the first one was published in July of 2011, and the last one was published in August of 2013.
Damn. Crazy.
So I don't know. I have to follow up on that. I don't know if all of those are full-fledged novels or if they are novellas or I don't know, but they're listed in sequential order as the books. So they're part of the omnibus, I
guess. Nice.
So very
interesting. Dude signed a print-only deal for $500,000 to Scheimer and Schuster. Huh. Yeah, this dude was cranking these albums. What?
Yes.
Oh, it was all ebooks. Smart.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's actually really smart. If you just do ebooks and you keep it moving, I'm not mad at that. That's dope. But it's 8 episodes like that. 10 episodes, and they get you a good enough of the world, a good enough of the characters, and then they end on a nice little interesting reveal, world building reveal. I thought that was dope. And it's not it's not a premise we haven't seen before. Dystopian future. Everyone's something happened that took out the main society. Now these people have been living in a certain situation. They have a rule book and all those types of things. Production design and everything else is really cool. I love the casting of everything. Tim Roth is awesome.
All things.
Yep. Or I said Tim Roth. Tim Robbins. Sorry.
Oh, different.
Oh yeah, Tim Robbins. Shawshank Redemption. He's awesome. But yeah, it was cool, man. And also too, I'm actually again impressed with Apple because Apple has been really putting their foot in more sci-fi stuff of lately. Like I saw the other thing they have, I think is Invasion. Is there other new one that's supposed to come that's out right now?
I saw something about Invasion.
Yeah, that was the other one. It was because it was Invasion, Silo, and then they have their other shows, but the
From what I hear, all their science fiction is good. It's just degrees of good.
Yeah, I was like I said,
they haven't missed on sci-fi
impressed.
yet. Is the prevailing thought process?
Yeah, no, I was impressed. I was definitely impressed. Cam, what you watching?
Yeah, I just finished a show on Netflix called Erase, which was based off, I think, an anime or manga that was written by this guy named Kei Sanbi. There has been different iterations of this show throughout the years. There's the animation, the manga. There was actually a movie that came out, and I think there was another TV show that came out earlier. And this basically the premise deals with the main character who has this special power called Revival, where he can go back in time and prevent something that happens that's going to be detrimental to whoever or whatever. And the whole premise starts with him trying to find this murderer that has been murdering in his present time, and he goes back into the past to find out who it is. And the cool thing about it is, yes, it deals with time travel. And the one thing that's always a turnoff with like Asian dramas is that sometimes they can be a little bit too predictable. And I kind of be like, okay, like I'm thinking logically when I watch these shows. I'm like, why is this dude doing this? Why is this person doing that? And I get frustrated. I'm like, yo, this don't make any sense, right? And sometimes it's hard for me to suspend the logic to enjoy this. But this wasn't that bad, actually. It was actually, they done the time traveling thing, which I hate. They did it okay. It wasn't like obtrusive. It worked. It wasn't jumping multiple timelines. Well, it didn't jump multiple timelines, but it jumped in a few different times within this dude's alternate universe until he changed it somehow. So it was always consistent, and he had to go back and figure out why he didn't change it. It's kind of like a quantum leap-ish type of deal, but not really. It plays on that a little bit.
Angela, it sounds like you love this.
Yeah, like I don't want to oversell it. Like it's not like super extremely dope, but it was. It had me watch the whole season.
I'm totally trolling because D'Angelo does not like time travel narratives in the least.
I don't dig it either, but it's not this. The time travel aspect, it's almost like a MacGuffin,
right?
In a sense, it's there. He does it, but then as it later plays in, it's not a big thing. You're more invested in how this guy is going to figure out who the killer is.
Figure out the mystery. Yeah, that's dope. That's dope.
So it's only 12 episodes. It's very quick. And that's another thing. A lot of these Asian shows, when they're good, it's cool to have a long episode, like a 45-minute, 50-minute episode. When it's kind of like, you're like, man, this is kind of dragging, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the dialogue seems like it's slow, but I think it works the way they set it up. That's just me. I wasn't mad at it. I wasn't like mad I watched it. It was actually enjoyable, and it makes me want to go back and watch.
Forgiving than probably the only other person that's even less forgiving than you probably is D'Angelo. So if you say it's decent, I'm pretty sure it's at least good.
And the reason why I say it's decent is because one, it's like 35, 40-minute episodes. They're not too long. And it's only 12 episodes, and it feels like they go by really quick, to be honest. Like I think like 5 minutes of that is like credit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
that's kind of crazy because manga is also interesting because they do manga, they'll do the anime, and then they'll do freaking live action. and like it'll get developed in those types of things. And then if it gets picked up by American or European, then it gets another version. I'm looking at it right now, and I'm like, yo, there's a manga, an anime, a Slovenian version,
Yeah.
Yes.
and a live action Japanese. So I'm like, okay, apparently someone likes this. They keep trying to adapt it.
Yeah,
The-
so I'm gonna go back and watch the anime because I heard that was pretty good.
Yeah, your
Yeah.
So
description is
if
your
I can level up
description-
from the live action to the anime, it's solid.
Your
Yeah.
description is reminding me of what's it called? Psychopaths. Psychopaths.
Oh yeah,
the
that's
original
pretty crazy one.
Psychopaths. Psychopaths gripped me the same way. Like long episodes, tons of dialogue, but there's a point where like it all starts to click together, and you don't mind the length of the episodes. You don't mind like because the narrative actually builds on top of itself in a similar way to what Cam described, and it once it gets going, dear God.
I mean, those are the best ones.
Mhm.
Josh, what have you been watching recently?
I'm all over the place right now. Cam, you need to talk soccer. You need to watch the FIFA documentary on Netflix.
Okay.
Yo. Yo.
I feel like I'm gonna be into it and pissed off at the same time.
You are 100% correct, sir. You are going to be very
Uh-oh.
into it and you'll be very angry because the levels of injustice inflicted by this organization. Oh, man. Okay, so that aside, because that's not science fiction, it popped into my head just now as I was about to talk. So right now, I am watching, I'm finishing Fringe. Which I didn't finish when it originally aired. I was in and out with it. And, I came back to it and there was some not time travel. Well, yeah, there was some time jumps, alternate universes. And I was just like, something about it didn't grab me. And then D'Angelo and I were talking as we were discussing something else. And he mentioned Fringe, for reasons that aren't really important to this conversation. But he mentioned Fringe and he specifically mentioned his love of the character Walter Bishop. And it was relevant to something that we were doing. And so I was like, well, if it's like that, then, and his recommendations are like, are like the two Cam's recommendations. Pretty much they're no fail. If he tells me to watch it, I'm probably going to like it. And I'm willing to accept that if I don't like it, it's probably me. So yeah, I've been sort of spot watching Fringe because some of the issues that I had with it that were just my own little isms about how I like to watch things, plus the fact that it was a network show that was 25 billion episodes a season, kind of made me shy away. It kind of made me stumble a little bit watching it. But now I'm in the last season and I'm seeing all of the things that he's talking about. There's a lot of stuff from season 1 that's now coming into play in season 5. That's really good. Finishing Better Call Saul because I didn't finish it. I'm on the last 2, so I'm in the middle of the next to last season. And I still have that to finish up. What else? That's the stuff that I'm watching on Netflix. I almost started Silo, and then I got sidetracked by something else. The devil did I get sidetracked by?
Yeah,
there's something else that I'm watching I got sidetracked by, but that's all the science fiction that I'm on right now. But Fringe is definitely super underrated, and you have to have patience with it in certain spots. Because it does kind of get villain of the weeky in a little in some areas, but it is high-end science fiction. And further proof that J.J. Abrams needs to stick to executive producing projects. He's got a brilliant eye for good shows and good films, but he needs to stop directing. So, but I can't think of anything that he's produced that wasn't at least good.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
No, that's a good point. I've always said that's where he.
Yeah, he shines as a producer, but when he directs, or he's like, once he gets in, like if he's writing or if he's directing, then it's like. But if he's producing or just putting it together or show running, his stuff is pretty much almost always solid.
It's worth noting, I believe that Fringe was one of the first shows coming out of the 2008 writers.
That's right.
Right. Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Here we are.
That's right. It's him and it was him and
later in another writer's strike.
Yep. It was him and Kurtzman and what's his name?
Steve Goldman.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, same guy, same people who produced Star Trek Discovery
and Strange New Worlds, sir. I'm watching Strange New Worlds.
Yep, I'm behind. I need to watch that. I've already heard. I'm starting to see in my feed that it's the best Star Trek since Generations. That's now that it's in the second season. That's the chatter. The chatter is coming in right now.
Yeah, I think it's winning that argument.
I am righting a heinous wrong. Again, something that D'Angelo mandated that I watch. I never watched Black Mirror, and I'm on top of it now. And wow.
Black Mirror is dope.
What is it?
Black Mirror.
Oh. Yes.
Yeah. Black Mirror is dope. I haven't watched the latest season. I've heard mixed bags. D'Angelo likes it. Other people don't.
It's good.
No, it's good. I got to get on it.
That is another thing that I guess we're all watching is, I forgot. I did watch all 6 of the latest episodes of Black Mirror. The first 4, especially the first 3, are really good and disturbing at the same time.
I mean, that's kind of their MO. It's funny.
Yeah, that's their thing.
I just watched Bandersnatch like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And I actually went through the whole oh wait, let me see. What if I do this? What if I do that? Let me go back. That shit was fun. I actually really enjoyed it.
It was okay. I didn't enjoy it like everybody else. I thought it was too much. I was just like, give me the story, the narrative, and now I'm being pulled into this meta world that I don't really enjoy. So I think it was all the different outcomes. We could play that game all day.
It's losing the numbers, man. Having us watch that show.
It was choose your own adventure. I'm glad I did it now as opposed to when it came out way later and just kind of got into it because then I can just do it. No hype, just watch it. I'm like, oh, let me go this way, let me go that way.
They did better when they with that one-offs. Well, I guess it's now considered as one of the episodes. I think it's season 2 or 3, but it was White Christmas, the episode with John Hamm. That was supposed to be one of their early. That was actually one of the episodes before they moved to before they became a Netflix series when they were still just BBC. But that one was really good. It's one of their best episodes, and I thought Bandersnatch would be a little bit on those lines, but it wasn't. But it is what one terrible is just I was catching up. Oh, the other thing I was going to say I watched is I watched The Bear season 2. Really fun. Been wanting to check that out.
I heard that it differentiates from season 1 a little too much.
So this is the thing. I watched season 2 without watching season 1. I was at my homie's place. He was started watching it, and I was like, oh, whatever. Ended up just burning through it. And from the season 2 aspect of it, I like the writing, great cast. The one thing that got annoying a little bit is when they do their 2-person conversations, every shot is right uncomfortably up in the face. And they do it in the promos. I saw it in the promo. It's like, hey, Josh, what's going on? Oh, nothing, Cam, just chilling. But then the shit would be right in your face.
I caught the promos. Every conversation was
it's a little too. They do it too much. That and they love their wide shot and they pan in slowly as tension builds and the tension. There's a lot of anxiety in the show. Nice. But that being said, performance wise, Really dope. The acting is awesome. Good writing. I like all the characters that got. It's a really interesting cast. And then they have one particular episode that has a bunch of guest stars, and each guest star is introduced very subtly in a point where, like, normally when there's a guest star, it's like, hey, this is the guest star. But in the way this kind of happens, like everyone kind of gets to stand on their own, and literally I would give every one of those people that was in this episode a guest nomination for Emmy, just because like every person's like role was really, really cool and specific. And so one episode, and it was like, not even a spoiler, but it was like John Barenthal, Jamie Lee Curtis, Sarah Paulson, Bob Odenkirk, freaking who else? Oliver Platt. Like
all of them were
in one episode, and nobody outshines anyone. Everyone's the exact same level. John Mulaney's in it as well, and they each get a little bit of time to shine. And it's fucking they just did a really good job with the ensemble cast and the TV show, and not even billing it as like this is the special episode. It was just kind of like happens, and you're just whoa. Jamie Lee Curtis killed it. But yeah, it was dope. It was really good. It's I see why the hype is. I see why everyone does it. And I see why a lot of people are like really, really into the show.
I watched something else that you guys watched a few months ago, and I just watched it. John Wick 4.
What'd you think? What'd you think?
Welcome to the Resistance.
Well, I enjoyed the first three a lot better than I enjoyed that. It wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible. But it didn't need to be 2 hours and 48 minutes or 49 minutes. It was 30 minutes way too long for them to just continue to bring countless action sequence after action sequence.
Time to throw him down the stairs twice.
Whatever. I felt like I was tumbling down the stairs at that point. I'm like, come on, man, let's finish this. Let's finish this. Like
what's funny is watching it in the theater. Yeah, watching it in the theater, it's fast, but I think if I rewatched it at home, I probably would laugh.
I'm positive when we rewatch it,
Nah, it felt long as hell in the theater, bro.
It was. I mean, it was good stuff. I'll give them credit for the creativity and the form. You know, the way they block action sequences, the choreography, the creativity in scaling up the locations and the fight set and the set pieces and all that stuff. But again, I would criticize any other film for having a script like that, whereas again, it's just strung. It's 20-minute action sequences strung together back to back to back with each other. And then we had get to the third act. And I think Keanu Reeves may have said all of the whole sentence in that whole movie. Like it was very, and then I also noticed that, and this is probably because again, he's older now, that especially noticed it in the early scene where he's in in Japan, that some of the fighters were really off with their timing. Like they were like hesitating, like and waiting on him to turn to strike him. I'm like, see, that looks really bad because he's supposed to be he's supposed to be able to engage them as they're attacking him. Like, but you can see, and obviously not many people would catch that, but I thought it was very, very glaring that at least a few of them, the camera, and I know what they were doing, they were trying to do the continuous take, but somebody should have said, cut, let's do that one again, because yeah, go ahead.
Keanu is entering that Harrison Ford territory where he is too old to be playing his character.
Yeah,
it's not believable anymore.
If you remember when we
just his age,
when we reviewed it, I want to say Cam was the one who pointed out the same thing that you just pointed out, and I was the one who pointed out that the action sequences are definitely slower.
I mean, it's
there's a difference in speed, and it's definitely what you just said. And I think if it hadn't slowed down, you might not have noticed it as much. But because the speed is not, because the same sort of breakneck speed, because they don't really speed ramp those action sequences in the edit. That's real time. So it's noticeable.
That's my point.
Yeah. It's noticeable that he slowed down And I think because the pacing of the fight sequences slowed down, you're able to notice what you pointed out.
Yeah, because they're doing long takes instead of relying heavily on cuts and edits. So it's they've done it multiple times in all of the movies. So it's always paid off for them. And
Sure.
again, I just brought it up because it was something that you guys had talked about, reviewed. I didn't watch it at the time, but I literally just recently watched it, and still enjoyable, still good action. Really weird in retrospect seeing Sharon killed, knowing that Lance Reddick is died, has passed on. But good story. And if that's the end of his chapter and they still got that whole world to build off, I think the story of John Wick is that it probably was not expected to go that far. And
I mean, also,
and then retroactively built. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think I'm curious about the Continental story because like the world of John Wick is actually super interesting. Yeah, right. That like if they can, explore that world more and have fun with it, I think there's a lot there that they could have. Because Keanu's like 58 now, almost pushing 60. So I think there's enough in that world to like just the Continental itself is like super interesting. And then in 2, you're like, wait, there's other Continentals in other places. Okay, that's dope. So I think just the concept itself is awesome. And I think they could take it in a lot of different ways if they do more of like an anthology type situation or something like that. That would be like a fun thing to do. Like, call it the Continental, 6 episodes, 6 different assassins, 6 short stories or something like that. Like that would be interesting.
So but I think doing it when the Continental is first built, and Winston is super young, and Lance Reddick's character is super young, in the 70s, I want to say.
It's like 4 episodes, right? Something like that.
4 or 6, something like that.
Yeah. So that's like stuff like that could be super interesting. Yeah, I think that could be super interesting. But yeah, I think we're at a point now where you're right. There's certain parts where like, hey guys, maybe you don't have to play these things.
You can go older.
Like you're old. It's cool. If you're cooler, it's old. Like the other one I was gonna say I watched was Fubar with Arnold. And basically he's like a retiring FBI agent, finds out that his daughter is also an FBI agent undercover, but he didn't know that. She was lying to him this whole time. And so that's your basically father-daughter conflict for the whole show.
That's such a classic.
What show is this?
It's called Fubar. Arnold.
Oh, okay.
That's a classic Hollywood setup.
100%. Gives you all the 90s.
That is an 80s movie. That is an 80s movie waiting to happen.
I bet it was different if somebody was like, no, Arnold Schwarzenegger is the star. We gotta change that over. Make it he knew that she's in the FBI. No, he didn't know.
He didn't know absolutely. So that's basically the whole thing, and it's like very kitschy and Tree-Lizy type of style, but it's entertaining. It has great supporting cast. It's awesome. Arnold is definitely too old to do actually anything. They have him in the action sequences, and he's like, right when it's like, stop, sun double. Like, I hope those Sunmen got overtime because they were literally in every scene.
Yeah, the last one good action film he had in him was Dark Fate, and I think that was still like pushing it. But
yeah, that was definitely pushing it because there was a lot of it didn't do well because there's a lot of Terminator fatigue out there. Like I think if you didn't have the last 2 or 3 movies, that would have been a great movie. It is in terms of that pattern of there's several films that did this. Terminator was one of them where they ignored the sequels, and Dark Fate was a direct sequel to Terminator 2. Yeah,
Judgment Day,
which I still need to go watch.
You ignored all those other ones. That would have been that would have done that. It's a great movie on its own regardless. But it would have done extraordinarily well if they just jumped straight to that story.
Yeah, you're right. It's just too bad that even despite them ignoring those films, the audience hasn't forgotten. hadn't forgotten them, and so
that makes sense.
Terminator Dark.
Yeah,
And
I think
like I don't really have fatigue for things like if it's a good so by that measure I should be very fatigued with Star Trek. I'm not fatigued with Star Trek. I still enjoy it because there's still good stories to be told. You know, one of the
to be
things I'm
fair,
watching
Star
now,
Trek.
You tired of Star Trek, Josh?
Bro, listen, Discovery shook my faith a little bit for a second.
Well, and again,
Strange New Worlds is like, come here, come home, come home.
Strange New Worlds is a big a big hug to Star Trek fan. Especially, I don't agree that it's the best since TNG. People got to stop disrespecting Deep
Space Nine, which I'm also watching right now.
Like, they got to stop disrespecting Deep Space Nine.
Cisco Hawk is the man. Cisco Hawk is the man.
I'm just saying, like they want, it's interesting because Deep Space Nine was the first Trek series that literally was like, we're gonna go. This is gonna be a different Star Trek experience.
Yeah,
this is gonna show you more of this world. They've been telling us that there's this large fabric and galactic, so Starfleet has other aspects, and Deep Space Nine was a great entry for that. So, I think hands down, it's probably one of the most high-reaching Star Trek series.
Yeah, I agree, and also politics-wise, it would delve deeper a lot more. Because it was in one centralized place as opposed to them traveling different places. It was less Monster of the Week, a lot more intrigue, a lot more political situations.
Yeah, more serial.
Yeah, more serialized. And I think like Voyager got to be that one Monster of the Week type of thing, where Deep Space Nine got to stay in the corner and just like, let's talk about all the stuff that's going on and everyone that's coming through Deep Space Nine. And that's
and also a good deconstruction of Starfleet and the Prime Directive and all those things that really a deconstruction of Roddenberryisms. If we want to be fair, not to criticize that, but that's what it was. It was an admission that Rod's optimistic view of the future was starting to look a little dim as we moved into the mid 90s and things like that. So that's another reason why I think it's such a great entry into Star Trek's lore.
Yeah, it's a great deconstruction of the Roddenberry mythology. Like one of the producers is quoted to say, Roddenberry probably, as much as this was his idea, he probably would have hated what we did because
I agree.
Absolutely.
They went there. They went, they deconstructed the myth of a utopian society that that Starfleet and Federation have created. It put your main character in compromising positions. It was just, so I was telling D'Angelo the other day, I was like, I started rewatching it from the I usually jump to the beginning of season 3 and just go off from there. But I started from the very beginning this time on this 80th rewatch of mine and I gotta tell you, I need to stop maligning season 1 and season 2 the way that I have been, because there's some good.
I had mentioned that to you.
Fro Cisco versus Hawk Cisco.
Yeah.
Fro Cisco was solid. He had to be like.
I need to stop maligning season 1 and season 2 because there's some solid character development and some really solid Roddenberry style storytelling.
And it's solid world building because they start to build the Changeling, Dominion, even that Prophet storyline early on in season 1.
You made that noise like people like prophets.
Y'all know how I feel about religious storylines. It's almost the same thing. If not done well, it falls under the time travel.
Man.
I watched the TNG episodes, all of the Borg episodes.
Oh, that's nice.
And those were some of the best episodes. The Q who when he sends them what is it? The Delta Quadrant, and then the best of both worlds. I forgot we saw Shelby and Picard, and I forgot how her and Riker bumped heads hard and when they first met each other. And but those two episodes were great, and just an enemy that took Jean-Luc Picard and used him against the Federation. Like everything, this dude is the epitome of Starfleet and the Federation, and they used his knowledge to basically take out. I brought that up because I like that Deep Space Nine started with going back to the battle of what is it, Wolf 359. 359, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then fast forwarding to the person that was giving Cisco the commission for Deep Space Nine is Captain Jean-Luc Picard, and those two button heads.
He
like that,
had no respect for that man whatsoever.
None.
I mean, so the backdrops for anyone who hasn't seen it, for the listeners who may not have seen any of this 30 years ago. So in the Battle of Wolf 359, where the Borg basically take on the gigantic Starfleet armada that was assembled to stop them from getting to Earth, Cisco was in that battle, and his ship got basically just obliterated, one shot. And his wife and his son Jake were on board that vessel when it got destroyed. Basically, it was one hit from the Borg and it was abandoned ship. And so, and so his wife dies in that battle. He can't get to her. She's been, like debris falling on top of her. He gets his son out. He gets his son out, and he goes to go get his wife. But there's a fire and debris falling everywhere, and he's taken out of the room, out of their quarters, before he can get to her. She's already clearly laid out. She's dead. She's dead. And so fast forward, like D'Angelo said, fast forward to him meeting Jean-Luc Picard, who's giving him his orders and assignment to take over command of Deep Space Nine, and is all sorts of black business oozing out of Avery Brooks.
Giving business.
Talk about whatever shift.
Give me my orders and get out of here, yo.
Yeah, but I think looking back retrospectively, it was visually a well done thing by the producers, because if you want to talk about an attitude shift from the Next Generation and that version of Roddenberry's future utopian idea of the future, what better way than to show the former protagonist of that story bumping heads at the beginning of the new series with the new protagonist who's going to represent this new chapter in Star Trek lore.
Yeah, and zero fucks that was his superior officer, because he starts out as a commander. Avery Brooks, Commander Cisco he starts out as Commander Cisco, taking over command of that starbase, and I don't care, you my superior officer, just give me my orders and get out of here. Yo, you killed my wife.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. Like, that's a prevailing theme through all the Star Treks, like, of reverberating through all the shows, even Picard with what's his name, the other in the third season, the other captain, where he was on one of the ships that the Borg fucked up as well. So I like they kept that as a normal thing the rest of it.
Yeah, that changed Jean-Luc Picard's the way people saw him, and from that point on, like, even though he could say like, "Oh, I was taken over," it's like, yeah, but
yeah, bruh.
And they do a great job of touching on that in First Contact. The first time that they encounter the Borg since Wolf 359, and they were like, "Yeah, it's cool. You should do this planetary survey over by the neutral zone, just in case the Romulans pop up. You should patrol over there, in case the Romulans decide that they're going to take advantage of the situation." Meanwhile, you got the crew that has the most experience with the Borg, outside of probably Cisco. and you sideline him. So they clearly, like you say, there was clear distrust even after exonerating him for any wrongdoing. That should have been an episode, a court martial, like somebody, like an advocate general on some, this dude turned coach. He should be tried.
Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree. So, all right. So to bring it home, like, what do you guys got on deck? We just talk about a bunch of random stuff that we've been talking about. But what you got coming up that you're going to be? The Witcher just dropped, so we all got to finish that up. And you also, it's only the first part, and then the second part comes out in 2 weeks.
The second part drops July 29th.
And it's 3 more episodes or 2 more episodes?
It's 3. Yeah.
3?
So they do 8 episodes a season, which again, I got to respect them for it. Get in and get out. You know, they're not dragging it along.
I'll do my last because that's going to be a topic for discussion.
Yeah. We got Witcher coming up. I think I'm going to try to check out Foundation. A bunch of anime that I watched just started up again, so I'm going to hop back into that. I'm on my K-dramas as always. But I think I don't think I'm actually looking up is Secret Invasion. I got to catch up on that. I'm behind. I only watched the first episode, and I think they're like 4 episodes in. And then, I think that's it for me. D'Angelo, what you watching? Or what you got coming up?
Coming up, actually, this week is the premiere of, I think, 5th season of What We Do in the Shadows. So I'm going to be all on top of that. I just love that show. It's one of those comedies that I watch it and it just makes me forget about all the craziness and just laugh for 30 minutes. And so I'll be checking that out when it comes up. I'll be waiting for I finished the first part for The Witcher. I'll probably rewatch it before part 2 comes up, releases. So The Witcher. I think that's pretty much it. The Witcher, What We Do in the Shadows. Secret Invasion. I haven't started that, but I will be checking that out. And I think that's about it. Me.
Nice. Cam, what you up to? What you got left?
So I'm going to be watching this Secret Invasion because I did see episode 2 and I'm like, okay.
I like Secret Invasion because everyone was like, I can't say it's good, but I'm intrigued. They keep watching.
It was like, is this canon? Like,
yeah, that's why I keep saying a lot of.
Yeah, it's very like everyone said the same thing. It's like a mixed bag, but like it's a mixed bag, but people want to keep watching. So I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
That's a wholly accurate description of the show. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they're like, I'm not sure, but I'm going to keep watching because I want to see if this is actually, if they can land the ship.
and I'm going to start Witcher. And I just finished Extraction too, which was actually not bad. I know what I was doing.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, I liked it. Totally liked it.
It did what it was supposed to do.
Yeah, 100%. I think the Russos are having fun being in this space where they're just, let us just play the spy, high action, like not too heady, not too crazy. This is the plot. This is what we're getting out, and that's it. I think, honestly, for the Russos, I think that's a perfect place for them to play it because Netflix has unlimited money for them to pump out all these shows and TV movies, and they deliver every single time. Not too high, not too low, just right in the middle, right in that pocket.
Right in the middle.
Yeah. I think that's especially for the Russos, I think it's a perfect place for them.
Rayman is a great Russo's film. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that tonight, actually. Josh, what you got on deck?
I got Foundation. I got Silo. And so this will incur a great deal of smoke from the panel, which I am prepared to receive. I've never watched The Wire. And and so
wait, hold on.
Yes, Tim.
I've already heard this surprise, but I reacted just you did.
You never watched what?
I did not watch The Wire.
Okay.
Yo,
So-
Betty Sage is like, what?
How you know? Watch The Wire.
So
Josh,
D'Angelo, yes.
Josh, hold on. Before you even go into this, how, in the name of everything you watch, you only saw
You
The
jumped right
Wire?
over it, bro.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
brother. Go ahead.
I could tell
Sage
you
is
right where I
shocked
was
to the
when it was
bone.
coming, when it was on. I could tell you what else I was watching. And
Bro, you better not say a Marvel movie came out. You
no,
That's
and
actually
I
pretty
just
funny.
never got around to it. I've multiple conversations I've had about it. All right, I'm gonna get to it.
To be
And-
fair, it was on during the time where HBO wasn't as accessible easily, and not everybody was doing HBO at that time.
That was
I mean,
a
it was
small part of it. Yes, I didn't
Did
have
The
I don't
Wire
think I had it.
did The Wire and Sopranos overlap?
Yes.
a little bit. I think The Sopranos was
Whereas-
in its 4th or 5th season when The Wire had its first season. I think
yeah.
The Wire started in either between 05 and 07. I can't remember the exact year, but that was around time when it started.
And I got rid of HBO right at the end of Sopranos. So that was that was a small part of it. I mean, I was BitTorrent king, so I could have found it online. It's not like
I was laughing.
I don't have a reasonable excuse.
So actually, The Wire started in 2002, so it would have been around the 3rd season of The Sopranos.
Yeah.
I believe. So they were running a little bit concurrently with each other.
And I think also, so I think the initial thing was, I was like, oh, this is, crime drama focusing on the criminal element in where? So on description, I was like, hard pass, because between slave narratives and Black people doing dirt, committing heinous crimes, I was just like, I'm done. I'm done with all of it. I'm done with it in television. I'm done with it in film. I'm not watching. So there was a brief period where I actively avoided the show. And then I started hearing all the plaudits and pundits, that the show was getting, where it was like, yo, you need that in your life. And so because I didn't jump on it immediately, and because I was doing a bunch of stuff, my daughter was like Sage's age, if I remember correctly. You know what I mean? Like, there was just a lot going on, and I couldn't invest that much time in doubling back to watch the show. So I just didn't. I don't even think on demand was that big a thing back then, if I remember correctly. So I didn't want to jump into it. Matter of fact, it wasn't. So I wasn't really keen on diving into a show that I hadn't seen from the beginning. That was another thing.
Interesting.
But yeah, it was just but later on down the line, I could have watched it in the intervening years at any point, and and banged it out. And I just kept delaying it, not in favor of other things, but I just kept delaying it. Like, all right, I'm gonna watch it. And then finally, D'Angelo and I had a conversation last week, I think it was, and he had the same reaction everyone else has, like, how have you lived life with your black card intact and not watch The Wire? And
are you taking notes on a criminal conspiracy?
Yo, check this out, Josh.
Yeah.
Well, I actually didn't challenge your black card because it was David Simon. It wasn't like it was created by a black artist or writer.
Disclaimer.
I might exaggerate.
But Josh, this ranks up to there's a coworker of mine who was around the same age as I am, and he never watched New York Undercover, and I was like,
if you're a hip hop head, you watch New York Undercover. Yeah, that's the craziest part.
It was the one time where I aspired to be an undercover cop because it was so fly. Never in my life.
I think it's back on. It's on either Amazon or TV. I think it's on Freevee. It's either on Freevee or Amazon. I watched the random episode.
To those who are familiar, am I lying when I said cops were actually cool?
No, you're not lying.
Tim's, bubble jackets.
I was slightly older. I'm slightly older than you are, so there was not necessarily the same romanticization, but I gotta tell you that if you wish that I will say this, you wish that the cops you did come across were those two guys. Yeah.
That's hilarious. And shout out to Lauren Velez, who was on New York Undercover and is the mom in Spider-Verse in both movies.
Sir.
But yeah,
And
that's
and mom in the Transformers: Rise of the Beast.
Oh, the new one? Oh shit.
Yeah.
Nice.
Don't rush to see that. Just you can totally see that
whenever
when it comes out on streaming. Don't.
I was gonna say, but the last thing I would say that just came back on the anime tip is an anime called Mushoku Tensei.
So say that slowly
actually.
One more time.
Mushoku Tensei.
Okay.
And this is basically the godfather of the isekai genre. Isekai genre is basically when some loser gets killed and then wakes up in a fantasy land, essentially. So in the last 10 years of anime right now, that's been like one of the main genres that's been like getting cranked out. So
Interesting.
Sword Art Online, all these other ones that are like getting popular or whatever. So anyways, this particular anime is the very first of all of that. And so it was a novel turned into a manga, turned into an anime. And so it was a light novel. So when it first came out, every anime that does that type of genre basically borrows from this. And so when they finally got turned into an anime, everyone was kind of surprised because like finally at this point, because it was the kind of the main one that kind of started this whole genre off. I think 2006 or 7. But anyways, it's freaking amazing. It's really, really, really dope. It's just an interesting story, interesting world building. And as I'm watching it, I've seen so many isekai type of genres. And I see where everyone literally just took from the story and went off on a whole tangent. So props to that show because like they just did a really good job of converting the light novel into the anime. Just started its second season right now, and but it's dope because basically the whole thing is a loser gets killed, wakes up in the fantasy world. But the original, this one, he actually is totally cognizant, but he's a child. So he starts as a baby, like, infant, but he literally knows everything from his previous life. So it shows him growing up from a baby all the way up until I think 12 in the first season. Okay. And as he's like going through it and all that kind of stuff. So it's super interesting. They just did a really good job. But yeah, I just came back for a second season. I think it's on Hulu and Crunchyroll as well. So
so I guess final word can be what we're reading because we didn't touch on what we're reading.
I
will go first. I am rereading the Hickman reboot of X-Men, and it is just as good, if not better, the second time around.
True.
And I can't say enough. Cam, thank you. I cannot say enough about how much I did not think it was going to be good. I didn't want it. Like, I was very happy with where things were going when they decided to reboot the whole franchise. They were writing the dude who was writing Ferguson, was it?
Rosenberg.
Rosenberg, thank you. He basically went line wide, and every book, every character, everything, he basically sort of righted the ship, whereas it was meandering wildly all over the place. They killed off
X-Men. Yeah, X-Men had been good for 10 years, maybe. Yeah. I would say, X-Men had not been good for about 10 years. Rosenberg came in, he killed all the doubles, sent baby X-Men back, just cleaned up all the dumb shit that's been going on in X-Men for the last 10 years. And it was like, I got a vision. Here's my 3-year plan. You get about a year and a half in. Hickman's like, yo, I got this idea. And Marvel's like, damn, this is pretty good. All right, we'll cut Rosenberg and we'll give it to you.
And so Rosenberg literally as he fixed everything. Like the last issue they gave him is when everything's fixed and you can start telling stories now. And so I was livid because I was like, yo, this is like Cam, no exaggeration. Cam was 100% right. Best X-Men storytelling in 10 years. Like Scott was supposed to be dead and Emma Frost was mentally projecting him into people's brains so that whenever they saw the X-Men, they saw him and he was always there and just like, then, wow. I mean, that worked, I guess. Like it wasn't terrible, but it was just kind of like, because they'd changed his character so much, like they basically made him Magneto 2.0. And so because they changed his character so much, as great as it was to see, as great as it was to see him sort of grow a pair, once it was revealed that he was a mental illusion that Emma Frost created, everything kind of collapsed because everything was predicated on him being all gangster and gully and Malcolm X-y now. And so, it fell apart. And then, Rosenberg comes in, he's like, I'm gonna fix it all. And he fixes everything. It's great. And so I'm saying it all over again. We get to the point where Hickman does his reboot, and I was vehemently against it. I was like, I'll quit. Like, why would you reboot anything with what this dude just did? Cam got maybe a couple of issues into the reboot. It was like, yo, you need to read this. And I was like, no. Like, no, thank you. I don't have any intention of reading it. And someone else that we know was reading it. It was like, yo, I think it's Cliff. Cliff was reading it and he was like, yo, bro. And Cliff is at least as rabid in X-Men fan. We differ on some things, but Cliff is at least as rabid an X-Men fan as I am. I'd never take that away from him, despite how wrong he is on something. But yeah, and then someone else that I trust came through and said the exact same thing. And I was like rolling my eyes and hemming and hawing and like, but it was fine. Like what they were doing. And I was like, I don't want to be the old guy who's like, it was good the way that it was. So I went ahead and started reading it, and dear God, just the length and breadth that this man went to reset everything and make it just radically different from what we know and what we knew and from what we think we know. And just, and it's like, it's a reboot that incorporates everything that's happened before, which is a monumental task. And so at some point, it sort of swings back around to, everything that happened is one version of the past. And everything that's happening now is an offshoot of that. It's just, it doesn't involve time travel, D'Angelo. So, I can see your brow furrowing slightly. None of this involves time travel. And it's just a genius. I have to give it to him. A genius reinvention of everything we know about the X-Men. And, I've gone through Powers of X. I've gone through House of X and Powers of X side by side. And it ran through Dawn of X, and just, wow.
No, they did a good job. They did a really good job. I think that's
good job. That undersells the job. Saying they did a good job undersells the job that they did.
Well, and also I think, X-Men have been sucking for a long time purely because everyone that wants to write X-Men got put on like Inhumans or Avengers or other things. And the people that were on X-Men didn't want to write X-Men. So they're just like, why am I writing this? And you could tell it in the writing. And so when they finally flipped that switch, they actually came out with some good stuff. And I think now Hickman's run is about to finish up, like doing the thing called the Fall of X, basically right now. It's the new next 6 months, basically. And so they're blowing up.
What they're going to do after?
I have a rough idea, but I'll tell you that off mic. But yeah, they about to do that. But no, they did a good job. It's one of those things where when I was working at Marvel, that was one conversation we always have. Tell me one good X-Men story in the last 10 years, and none of us could come up.
He dropped that one on me, and I was like,
and we worked there. That's horrible. So, but it also goes back to, when writing is important. So telling good stories and being able to do stuff is like just as important as the flashiness and the arts and all that kind of stuff. So
I gotta tell you, it is absolutely mind blowing. I've not read an X-Men story that I can say that about even the stuff that was happening before the reboot that I thought I was like, oh, this is I love all of this. This is great. I don't think I remember thinking to myself, we're about to see greatness because he has managed to make sense of everything that was happening before that made absolutely no sense. And I think we're about to see something great that comes after it. And so for that to sort of fall by the wayside, as far as the guy who was writing it, right, up to that point, I was just like, well, he should get a shot, and
Definitely.
it didn't. That went away very quickly. I was like, Rosenberg is dope, but oh my God, this is. And again, I didn't want to like it. I wanted to be able to come to Cam and say, you're wrong. This is garbage.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you were thinking about. I don't know why you thought this was dope. It is not. And it's probably the best world building I've seen in a comic book in the last 25 to maybe 30 years.
I concur with that 100%. It's a good, like I said, self-contained start to finish story. You can like read it as one thing. Never happened going on. So I think that was
yeah.
So all right. Well,
what are you reading?
Again, as always, this is
what are you reading, Cam?
I'm reading some DC stuff. I'm catching up. Lazarus Project with Batman and Damian Robin, who's always fun. One of my favorite characters in the DC universe because he's an asshole and he does it all the time. I'm also catching up on my current X-Men stuff, which is kind of all over the place. And then, Philadelphia. That's a Black writer and artist. It's a vampire story set in Philadelphia. I think it just got nominated for Eisner recently, but yeah, trying to work on my supporting Black artists and writers situation.
Nice.
So I think I have all of them. I think I'm going to start the first one this week. So I'll kick that over to you guys.
I'll top it off with what I'm reading, and I credit the Professor for putting me on the Gods Themselves by Asimov. That was pretty dope. I'm almost done with that. I just love the first chapter was like against stupidity, and I started laughing because it's all out of sync. And I was like, but it makes perfect sense. And it's like three worlds: Earth, parallel universe, and like a lunar colony. So I'm in the third act right now. I'm slow reading it. I know you would have read this in like 2 days, but I'm enjoying it. And then there's a book I got on the back burner right after this by Ishmael Reed, Yellow Black Radio Broke Down. And the reason I'm on Ishmael Reed's tip is because a few years ago, I went to go watch the play Hamilton, and he wrote a short play called The Haunting of Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Oh, wow.
Criticizing the play Hamilton, and I thought that was awesome. So I'm a big Ishmael fan.
Nice.
Those are the two books. And Ishmael Reed is one of us. So
what was the name of the book?
The Yellow Black Radio Broke Down.
Yellow Black Radio Broke Down.
I believe that's the title. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's on the back. But I don't have it in front of me, so.
Nice.
Well, yes. I'm reading The Gone World by Tom Sweaterlish. I always get his name wrong, but it's a science fiction murder mystery kind of deal. Supposed to be Inception meets something. What is it? Like Inception meets what's the Annihilation? Yeah, probably similar to in that weird science kind of vein. So, but I don't know if I'm going to finish it because I'm waiting for on July. What is it? July 18th. The second book in this trilogy I started reading last year is going to be released. And it's called The Dream of Blade, I think, of Dream of Blades or something like that. It's by Daniel Abraham, who actually co-authored The Expanse.
Okay. That's right. That's when you told me that.
Yeah. So that book is, it's called Dream of Blade of Dream, yeah. And it's the second book in that, and it's like a medieval high fantasy kind of deal. Sword and sorcery. So gonna try to finish the Gone World and then hop into that. So I got 2 weeks. I've only started the first couple pages of the Gone World, so I think I'll knock it out in a week if I put my mind to it. But it's I'm looking forward to it. It's set in 1997 and supposed to be kind of a weird, dark sci-fi thriller. So that's right up my alley.
Yeah,
so
that's dope. Yeah, that's super dope. Nice. All right, fellas. Well, once again, always a good conversation. And we're gonna pick it up next week, and we'll figure out one. We'll do another one of these to follow up all the stuff that I've been watching, and then 2, there's a bunch of things that are coming out or wrap it up that we'll chime in on. So, as always, thanks for everybody listening, and
Thomas still stuck.
yeah.
Wow.